This week, for the next 7 days, I'm going to be speaking to you on a different question every day, which is either addressed by Hinduism or it's a question people have about Hinduism. And today it's a question that is addressed by Hinduism, which is not adequately addressed anywhere else. In fact, the answer to this question is so poorly understood in the world over that people don't even think there is an answer. They either think it's different for every person, or they think it's just impossible to find an answer. And the question is, what is the meaning of life? Why are we here? I also wondered about this growing up and at times I felt a little disappointed or even depressed, not knowing if you don't have a meaning and a definite direction in your life, spiritually speaking, it's hard to maintain a positive attitude all of the time. So I had that question deep inside of me growing up and my whole life, and I never got the answer until I learned from Jagat Guru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj what the Hindu scriptures say about the aim of life. So this is how we explain it. We're all looking for something. We all have a desire in our heart, and that desire is felt just like something is missing. That's what we all feel, that something is just missing. We feel a restlessness. It keeps us going. We have to find something. What is that something? We can't quite put our finger on it. We can't define it. We just know that something is missing, and it's something so important that we spend all day, every day, looking for it. And that something is defined as Anand in our scriptures. Happiness, Sukh. Everything we do is for the purpose of finding happiness. This is step number one in understanding what the meaning of our life is understanding that we all need happiness. We all want happiness. In fact, that's the only thing any of us wants. Every other desire that a person comes up with in their mind is created in order to satisfy the original desire to be happy. Even something like love. Why do we want love? Is it for the sake of love? Is that the end goal? No. Love is supposed to make us happy. Sarvesham api bhutanam nripasvatmaiva ballabha itare patya vittadyas tadvallabhatayaivahi. The Bhagavatam says that there's one thing that is dear to all of us. That is our own happiness. Everything else is dear to us because of its ability to satisfy our need to be happy. Love is for the sake of our own happiness. Marriage is supposed to be for the sake of our own happiness. Having kids, we also have kids because we want to be happy. Did anyone ever think before deciding to have kids that I'm going to have kids so I can make them happy? No. I'm going to have kids because that will make me happy. The happiness is what's dear to us, our own happiness. No one ever thought, I'm going to get married to this person so I can make them happy. It's never happened in the history of the world. Everybody always thought, if I get married to this person, I'll be happy. At least that's the hope. So happiness is what we want. Money is not dear to us as an end in and of itself. No. Money gives us the ability to buy things. And with those things, we can enjoy through our sense of sight, hearing, taste, touch, or smell. And through our five senses, we can try to find happiness by enjoying the world. And we need money for that. We need money to be able to go places, go on vacations, do the things we want to do, but all for happiness. It's why we go to work in the morning. It's why kids go to school. We even do things we don't like to do because eventually we're hoping it's going to lead to our happiness, or we fear if we don't do this thing, it's going to cause us to be unhappy. So the point is, everything we do is for our happiness. The next question is, there must be a reason for this. Why do we desire happiness? Were we all instructed? Is there a standardized education which is delivered to all children in this entire world at a certain age when they're old enough to understand? Somebody comes and teaches them, you have to desire happiness? No. There's no such standardized education. In fact, before the child even knows to read or write or talk or even recognize its own parents, the child knows it wants happiness. And it demonstrates this by crying the moment it comes into this world. What does crying have to do with wanting to be happy? The child is demonstrating by crying that it doesn't want unhappiness. It's protesting. The child is protesting, saying, this experience of being born is very unpleasant, painful, not just for the mother, for the child as well. So the child comes into the world protesting, I don't want unhappiness. In other words, that child, that newborn baby, knows it wants to be happy. So we all have that within us. It's an instinct within all of us. But the question is still, why? Even if you could find a philosophy somewhere in this world that explained this much, that every soul wants to be happy, nobody has an answer for why we want to be happy. If you ask somebody, they'll look at you a little strangely, like, why would you ask why? We just do. We want to be happy. It's our nature. True, it is our nature. But why is it our nature? The only place this answer is given is in our scriptures, in the Hindu scriptures. And there's a 3-step logic to explain this. First of all, we are ansh of God. Ansh means a part of. For those who wonder about a soul being a part of God, let me just explain that it doesn't mean that we are a piece of God broken off. God can't be broken into pieces. God is always whole and complete. Purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate. Ishavasya Upanishad tells us that God is always whole and complete. Then what does it mean to say we're ansh of God? We're not a direct ansh, put it that way. We're not a direct piece of God, a direct fraction of God. We're a part of one of His powers called Jeev Shakti, soul power. How many souls are there? There are unlimited souls in existence. If you take all of those souls together, that equals the Jeev Shakti of Bhagwan. So each individual soul is ansh, or a fraction of, a part of God's Jeev Shakti. So we have a relationship with Him. God powers the Jeev Shakti. God resides within each and every soul and gives life to all of us. So we are His power, or we're a fraction of His power, but just to simplify it, we say we're His ansh. We're a part of Him. This is step number 1 in the logical sequence. Step number 2 is every ansh is attracted to its anshi. He is our anshi because He is our owner, the one giving life to us, or in a more, you could say, a more general way, He is the whole. Although I just told you it's not like that He's the whole and we're a part, but you can think of it like that for now, for this part of it. He's the whole and we're a part of Him. We belong to the whole, like a drop of water belongs to the ocean. And it's a fact of nature that every ansh, every part, is attracted to its anshi, the whole. Just like that drop of water, what happens when water evaporates from the ocean and forms clouds and then precipitates on land? What happens to that drop of water? It's also restless, isn't it? Just like we're restless. That drop of water can't stay still. It has to move. And where is it moving towards? The ocean. It's anshi. So it's drawn inexorably towards its anshi. Maybe someone could give the sevak outside a message that this is the wrong time to be leaf blowing or whatever is happening. Someone went. Someone already went. So, just like that drop of water, being ansh of the ocean, is drawn towards its anshi, the ocean, every soul is drawn towards God. It's a law of nature. It can't be controverted. Every soul wants God. Loke nahi savidyeta yo naram manuvratah. Valmiki Ramayana says that there never has been, nor is there, nor will there ever be a soul who did not desire God, because every soul is ansh of God. Even those who say they don't want God or say they don't believe in God, they also actually desire God. To understand this part, we have to go to the third part of the logic. The first part, we're ansh of God. Second part, every ansh desires its anshi, or is drawn towards its anshi. The final step in this logical chain is that God is happiness. So this proves to us that we want God because we all want happiness. Anando brahmeti vyajanat anandadhyeva khalvimani bhutani jayante anandena jatani jivanti anandam prayantyabhisam vishanti. Taittiriya Upanishad says God is Anand. It's a synonym for God. It's not something that we compare God to, like God is like happiness. It's not something we say God has in His possession, like God is full of happiness. No. God is happiness. Just like sugar is sweetness personified, or if not personified, because sugar doesn't have a personal form, but you could say sugar is the very form of sweetness. Well, Shri Krishna is personified. He is Anand personified. He is the source of Anand. He is the very form of Anand. So when we say we desire our Anshi, Shri Krishna, we can add one more thing to that. Since we are his Ansh, we desire him, and he is happiness, which is why we all desire happiness. We are Ansh of personified happiness. That is why even those who say they don't believe in God prove through their desire for happiness that they do believe in God. They're just calling God by another name. If you ask someone who doesn't believe in God, do you want to be happy? They'll say yes. Do you believe in happiness? They'll say yes. Then they just agreed that they believe in God. They just don't know it. Their mind is confused, but their soul desires only God. Raso vai sah rasagvam hyevayam labdhva nandi bhavati. Taittiriya Upanishad. God is happiness, and only by attaining God can a soul attain perfect happiness. So we understand now. We all want happiness, which makes the attainment of happiness the goal of our life, the goal of everybody's life. And since God is happiness, the goal of our life is to attain God. Many people think that, okay, I've come into this life with some kind of purpose. Like God wants me to do this thing, or God wants me to do that thing, or I've been put in this world to do this. These are all our struggles and speculation to try to find meaning in our life. The fact is, the meaning of our life is the same for every single person. The meaning of life is to attain God and become perfectly happy. Everything else is just a part of that search for happiness. Someone might wonder, of course, that does that happiness not exist in the world? Why are we saying God is happiness? Can we not find happiness in the world? Well, our Vedas have an answer for that as well. Chandogya Upanishad says, Yo vai bhuma tat sukham. True happiness is unlimited. So, you see how logical our scriptures are? Not only do we have the exact explanation of what every soul is looking for, we have the reasoning behind why we're looking for that thing. And we also have the very definition of what true happiness is. True happiness must fulfill 3 criteria. Number 1, it must be bhuma, unlimited in amount, and everlasting. Not temporary, but once you get it, it lasts forever, and it never gets old, boring, or decreases. It's the exact opposite. True happiness is ever fresh, ever new, ever interesting, ever fascinating, and ever increasing. So true happiness must be of unlimited amount, last forever, and be ever increasing and ever interesting and fascinating. These are the 3 criteria of real happiness according to our scriptures. So we can just analyze very quickly through our own experience. Is there anything in this world that has ever given us that kind of happiness? No, not even close. We know that when we're enjoying the best thing in this world, whether it be pizza or ice cream or rasgulla or chocolate or the embrace of your favorite person, whatever that topmost enjoyment is for you in this world, at the height of enjoyment, ask yourself, is this enough? Or do I want more? And your mind will tell you, I want more. That means you haven't gotten unlimited happiness yet. You're still enjoying limited happiness and you're hoping for more. And if you got more, again, you would want more. And if you were asked to quantify how much is going to be enough, you don't know. All you know is, I want more. Always more. So that desire for more would never finish until we got an infinite amount of happiness, because then there would be nothing more than that. That's the ultimate. We also know that everything in this world is physically temporary. And even if you could keep something for your whole life, the happiness that that thing gives is even more temporary than the existence of objects and things and people. No happiness continues forever. You can embrace your favorite person, and after a minute or two, you feel like, okay, let's do something else. I'm bored. You can eat your favorite food, and after who knows how long, 10 or 20 minutes of eating that food, you feel like, okay, that's enough. Next thing. You don't stop looking for happiness, you just got tired of that thing, or that thing stopped giving you happiness. So everything has a limited amount of happiness, and it lasts for a temporary amount of time. And to make matters even worse, even while you're enjoying that thing, the amount of happiness you're enjoying decreases every moment. Just like slips out of our hands. Whatever was the maximum amount of enjoyment happens right in the beginning, when you first get the thing you want. Whether it's a new car, a new house, a new friend. The initial excitement is the greatest. The first bite is the best. And after that, there's a gradual decrease in the amount of happiness that you experience from that person or that thing. And eventually you feel bored and you need a break. You can come back to it later, but you can't just keep enjoying the same thing without break. So you see, the happiness of the world doesn't meet any of the three criteria for true happiness. We've never experienced God, but we can deduce. See, there are three types of praman, three types of evidence to prove something. We're trying to determine where true happiness is. And there are only two options, because there are three things that exist according to our Vedas: souls, that's us, the world, and God. So when we're looking for happiness, we're the ones looking. So we can either look in the world or we can look to God. We haven't experienced perfect happiness yet. So we don't have the first type of evidence, which is pratyaksh praman, direct experiential evidence. We don't have that, so we can't say for certain where true happiness is through our own experience. But we can deduce where true happiness is. We can deduce the existence of perfect happiness, because if perfect happiness didn't exist, we couldn't have thought to desire for it. You can't think of something that you don't have some connection with. If I tell you, imagine a color you've never seen, you can't do it. You can only imagine things you've previously perceived or have some connection with. If I tell you, okay, you have 5 senses, imagine a 6th way that you could perceive the world. You could try imagining for millions of years. You won't be able to do it. So by virtue of the fact we desire perfect happiness, that in itself proves that perfect happiness must exist. Otherwise, we never could have thought to desire for it. And of course, the reason we know about perfect happiness, even though we've never experienced it, is because our soul is related to God. So it has that pull towards God, that natural desire for perfect happiness. So we can deduce the existence of perfect happiness, and we can also deduce that perfect happiness must be in God, because there were only 2 options to start with: the world or God. Our own experience tells us that it's not in the world, so that only leaves one option. It must be in God. If there are 2 men standing before you, and you don't know which is which, but you know one of them is called Dinesh and one of them is called Rajesh, ask the first one, "Are you Dinesh?" He says, "No, I'm Rajesh." You know the other one is Dinesh. You don't even have to ask him. You deduce that fact. So we have Anumana Praman, inferential evidence that true happiness must exist in God. And we have the third kind of evidence, Shabda Praman, testimonial evidence. We have the testimony of the scriptures and all the saints. The scriptures who tell us about God and the saints who have experienced God, they testify to the fact that God is perfect happiness. So based on all of that, we can understand that God is the true form of happiness, and only by attaining God can we attain perfect happiness. I'll share one more thing with you on this topic. Just saying God is happiness is a good start. It's not the end of this search for happiness. Now we know that true happiness is in God. But we have to be even more specific than that. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. In the Bhagavatam, Vedavyasji says that God has 3 aspects. They're called Brahm, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Brahm means formless God. Paramatma means Almighty God in a personal form, like Vishnu, Shiva, Durga. And Bhagavan means the loving form of God, like Shri Krishna, who does Leelas, Shri Ram, who does Leelas. Since God has these 3 main aspects, or you can say Shri Krishna has these 3 main aspects, as himself, where he does Leelas, where he lovingly interacts with the devotees, in his almighty form, as Vishnu or any other affiliated almighty power or form, where he doesn't do Leelas, but he is revealing his personal form, so you can experience the bliss and beauty of his Sakar Roop. And also he exists, the same Shri Krishna exists as a formless aspect of himself, where none of his powers are revealed, none of his characteristics are revealed. So as formless God, you can't say that Krishna is beautiful. What do you mean he's beautiful? You can't see him. He has no form. You can't say he's kind or gracious any more than a sleeping person is kind or gracious. They may be, but they'll only manifest that gracious behavior when they're awake. So Brahm is almost like God with all of his powers asleep, avyakt or unmanifest. So the same Shri Krishna has these three eternal aspects of his own self: Brahm, Paramatma, Bhagwan. Therefore, there are three main ways you can attain God. You can attain Brahmanand, where you conceive the omnipresent blissfulness of God in his formless aspect. So you don't see him, you don't experience him through any of your senses, but you just conceive of his omnipresent, blissful nature, and you feel one with him. That would be the experience of Brahmanand. Beyond this is the experience of Aishwaryanand, where you actually see God in his personal form, in the form of Vishnu, for example. Then you perceive his beauty, unlimited divine beauty. This is further enriched than the Brahmanand, where one is unable to perceive God through any of their senses. Now you're getting a richer experience. Through all five senses, you can revel in the unlimited bliss of God's beauty, God's graciousness, kindness. But there's one more thing that can be added, and that is added through the Leelas of Shri Krishna, Radha Krishna, Sita Ram. When God does Leelas, he's interacting with his devotees, playfully interacting, personally talking to them, being with them, talking with them, walking with them, working with them, playing with them, eating with them, being with his devotees. This is called a Leela. This adds another layer of richness to the experience of that divine bliss, and this is called Premanand. Premanand is the ultimate divine blissfulness. It includes the bliss of Aishwaryanand, which includes the bliss of Brahmanand. So in Premanand, you have the blissfulness of Brahm, you have the beauty and the amazing glory of Aishwaryanand, but now you have the love of Shri Krishna. So this is the topmost bliss, Premanand, or for short, Prem. So if we want to be specific about the goal of every soul, our prayojan, what is our true aim of life? It is actually to attain the Premanand of Shri Krishna, to experience the fascinating and amazing delight of Radha Krishna's beauty, playfulness, lovingness that they reveal in all of their Leelas. This is the highest goal of every soul, and it's the deepest desire of each and every soul. Many of us don't have that knowledge, so our mind may not understand that this is the ultimate thing that we're seeking, but this is the logical fact that every soul is desiring not just happiness, but divine happiness, God's happiness. And not just God's happiness, not just Anand, but Premanand, the highest kind of Anand, the supreme bliss of the divine world. So you see, through the teachings of Jagat Guru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj, we can understand what our Hindu scriptures say about the ultimate aim of every soul's existence in a very specific and detailed way, which means now that we know what the goal is, we can actually set our sights on that goal and we can follow the path to attain that goal. This week, I'm going to be addressing some other related questions. We will be talking about the path. We'll be talking about how to reach God, which form of God one could worship, why there are so many forms of God, why are there so many paths to God. But before we get to that, there are a couple of questions, more like doubts, that people have about God and about religion. So we're going to address those doubts, starting tomorrow with the question, is it possible to prove God exists? Or if you want to ask it in another way, how do I know God is real? Kids ask this question all the time. They probably ask their parents, and many times parents don't know what to say. So is there a way to prove that God exists? Is it okay to believe? Is it logical to believe that God exists? Or is it unscientific to have faith in God? We'll answer all of these questions tomorrow. And today,